I'm 42 years old, and until 2 years ago, I thought I had a solid life. Married for 15 years. 2 kids. A mortgage. Sunday barbecues. The kind of ordinary stability people say they want. My wife, Emily, and I had been together since our early 20s. We grew up together. Or at least I thought we did. My best friend, Mark, had been in my life even longer. We met in college. He was the best man at my wedding. He used to joke that if Emily ever got sick of me, he'd take care of her. Back then, it sounded harmless. Supportive. Loyal. Life felt normal. Predictable. Safe. I had no idea how fragile it actually was. Mark was always around. Birthday parties. Holidays. Random Tuesday dinners. He practically had his own mug in our kitchen. Emily and he got along well, which I appreciated. It made everything easy. When my job got stressful, Mark would check in on her. "Make sure she's okay," he'd tell me. I thought it was thoughtful. But there were little things. Inside jokes I didn't get. Conversations that stopped when I entered the room. Text notifications from him that made her smile in a way she hadn't smiled at me in a while. I told myself I was being paranoid. They were my 2 favorite people. If I couldn't trust them, who could I trust? About a year before everything collapsed, Emily started changing. New clothes. More makeup. Gym 3 times a week. She said she wanted to feel like herself again. I supported her. I even felt proud. But she guarded her phone like it contained nuclear codes. She started taking calls outside. If I walked into the room unexpectedly, she'd flip the screen face down. I asked once, casually, "Everything okay?" She laughed. "You're not turning into a jealous husband, are you?" I laughed too. I didn't want to be that guy. Mark, meanwhile, kept telling me how lucky I was. How strong Emily was during my long work hours. "She needs support," he'd say. Apparently, he meant himself. The moment suspicion became something real happened on a random Thursday night. Emily was in the shower. Her phone buzzed on the counter. I wasn't trying to snoop. I swear. But the preview popped up. From Mark. "Last night was incredible. I can still feel you." I remember staring at it like it was written in another language. My brain refused to process it. Last night, I had been working late. Mark had come over to drop off tools. My hands started shaking. I felt hot and cold at the same time. When she came out, towel wrapped around her, smiling casually, I couldn't even speak. Something inside me had already cracked. I handed her the phone without saying a word. She saw the message preview and went pale. "Explain it," I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. She opened her mouth, closed it, then whispered, "It's not what you think." I almost laughed. That cliché? "Then what is it?" I asked. Silence. Tears filled her eyes. "It just happened." "How long?" She didn't answer. "How long?" I shouted. 8 months. 8 months. That's when the gym started. The phone secrecy. The girls' nights. 8 months of dinners, holidays, birthdays, all fake. I remember sliding down against the kitchen cabinet, like my legs stopped working. My best friend. My wife. 8 months. I felt stupid. That was the strongest emotion. Not anger. Not heartbreak. Stupid. How had I missed it? How many times had they sat across from me, pretending? How many jokes did I unknowingly play the punchline in? Emily kept saying, "I didn't mean for this to happen." I kept thinking, it happened hundreds of times. It didn't just happen. I texted Mark. "We need to talk." He replied almost instantly. "I know." That "I know" hurt more than anything. Calm. Prepared. Like he'd been expecting the bomb to drop. Like I was the only one living in the dark. I met Mark at his apartment. I don't even remember driving there. He opened the door and looked guilty, but not ashamed. That's the difference I noticed. I never meant to hurt you, he said. You're sleeping with my wife, I replied. That's literally hurting me. He ran his hands through his hair. She was lonely. You were always working. So it was my fault. She needed someone, he added. And that someone was you? He didn't deny it. He said he loved her. That word knocked the air out of me. Loved her. My best friend loved my wife. And apparently she loved him too. When I confronted Emily about what Mark said, she didn't deny that either. I didn't plan this, she said through tears. I felt invisible. Invisible. I was killing myself at work to give us stability. College funds. Vacations. Security. You could have talked to me, I said. I tried, she whispered. You were tired. Distracted. Maybe I was. But cheating isn't communication. She admitted they'd been meeting while I was at work. Sometimes even in our house. That detail broke something fundamental in me. Our bed. Our couch. Places that used to feel safe now felt contaminated. I barely slept for weeks. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined them together. Laughing. Touching. Whispering the same things she used to whisper to me. I questioned everything. Was I bad in bed? Boring? Unlovable? I hated myself for still loving her. That was the worst part. Even after knowing, I'd look at her and remember our early years. The way she held our newborn son. The vacations. The private jokes. How do you erase 15 years? You don't. They just rot. And you're forced to watch it decay while pretending to function for your kids. We tried to keep it quiet at first. But kids aren't stupid. They noticed the tension. The separate bedrooms. The way we avoided eye contact. One night my daughter asked, "Are you and Mom mad at each other?" I couldn't lie. "We're having grown-up problems," I said. She looked scared. That's when the anger shifted. It wasn't just about me anymore. They hadn't just betrayed me. They'd risked our children's sense of security. Mark had been Uncle Mark. Now I couldn't even hear his name without feeling sick. Emily begged for counseling almost immediately after everything came out. She said she didn't want to throw away 15 years. She cried in a way I hadn't seen before, not dramatic, not defensive, just scared. I agreed to therapy, but if I'm honest, it wasn't because I believed we could fix it. It was because I couldn't make a decision while I was still in shock. Divorce felt nuclear. Staying felt humiliating. Therapy felt like the only middle ground. In the sessions, she said the affair started emotionally. That she felt unseen. That Mark listened in ways I used to. Hearing that felt like being compared to my replacement. The therapist asked me what I needed to rebuild trust. I didn't even know how to answer. How do you rebuild something that was quietly destroyed for 8 months? Emily promised transparency. Passwords. Location sharing. Full access. But none of that gave me peace. It just made me feel like a prison guard in my own marriage. And I hated that version of myself. About 3 months into counseling, something still felt off. She was more attentive, yes. Kinder. Almost overly affectionate. But there was this tension under the surface, like a wire pulled too tight. One night, when she fell asleep early, I checked the phone records online. I told myself I was just verifying what I already knew. I didn't want to snoop. I wanted reassurance. Instead, I found late-night calls to his number. Short ones. 2 minutes. 5 minutes. Always after I'd gone to bed. My stomach dropped in a way that felt familiar now. When I confronted her, she didn't even try to deny it. "I just needed closure," she whispered. Closure doesn't happen repeatedly. Closure doesn't hide in the dark. I realized she wasn't grieving the affair the way I was. She was grieving him. And that's when something inside me shifted from panic to clarity. I couldn't compete with a man she still missed. I couldn't rebuild a marriage with someone who hadn't fully let go. That was the moment I emotionally stepped out, even before the legal separation. We separated 6 months after discovery. Telling the kids was brutal. We sat them down together. Emily cried. I kept my voice steady, like I was explaining a school schedule change. But my son asked, "Did someone do something bad?" Silence hung in the air. I said, "We both made mistakes." Even now, I don't know why I protected her in that moment. Emily moved into a small apartment across town. The house felt hollow without her things, but also strangely calmer. Mutual friends reacted in ways I didn't expect. A few admitted they'd suspected something. One even said, "I thought you knew." That sentence still replays in my head. I felt like the last person invited to my own humiliation. Financially, the divorce was draining. Emotionally, it was worse. I developed anxiety. Random chest tightness. Nights where I'd wake up convinced I'd heard a notification sound. Trust wasn't just broken in marriage. It felt broken in me. It's been 2 years now. Emily and Mark are openly together. They post photos. Smiling. Vacations. Holidays. At first, it felt like a knife twisting every time I saw it. Now it just feels distant. Like watching a show I used to be in. I've dated a few women. Nice people. Kind. Stable. But I catch myself looking for signs. Guarded phones. Inside jokes with male coworkers. Slight changes in tone. I hate that hypervigilance. I used to be secure. I used to trust easily. Now I analyze everything. Sometimes I replay old memories in my head. A dinner where Mark made her laugh a little too long. A weekend when she seemed distracted. In hindsight, it feels obvious. But when you love someone, you edit reality to protect the story you want to believe. I don't know if I'll ever get that version of myself back, the one who believed loyalty was mutual. If you told me 5 years ago that my wife and my best friend would end up together, I would have laughed. Not because it was impossible, but because I thought I knew them. Now I understand something uncomfortable. People don't just betray you in one big moment. They betray you in small decisions long before the truth explodes. I've spent a lot of time wondering what I could have done differently. Work less. Listen more. Plan more date nights. Maybe it would have helped. Maybe not. But I didn't cheat. I didn't lie daily. I didn't look my partner in the eyes while building another relationship behind their back. That's what I hold on to now. Not bitterness. Not revenge. Just the quiet knowledge that I showed up honestly. The pain hasn't fully disappeared. I still feel it in unexpected moments, weddings, anniversaries, random songs on the radio. But I survived something that could have made me cruel. Instead, it made me cautious. And maybe that's the only resolution I get.